Hey, what's up guys, Andrew here, and in this video I want to talk about things that I like to see change in Crucible. So definitely want to say congratulations on launching this awesome game, this free-to-play experience, this PvPvE experience for the individuals who are going to love this game. And I love the game, but there's some things that I believe that during this preseason that if you make these changes, you'll change the trajectory of the game, right? And these are some of the things that I want to talk about. And I definitely want to really spend time on these points, about 3 or 4 points of what I like to see changed in this experience. And I got a chance to play the game a little bit early, so thank you for that. But there's just some things that just do not feel native to the experience. And these are some of the things that I want to discuss in this video. So this video is going to be about 3 to 4 things I like to see changed in Crucible, which is Amazon Game Studios. This was released on the 20th of May, free to download on Steam, and it has controller support. And that's the first point that I want to talk about, the controller support. When you look at controller support, and I'm going to actually read this so I can frame it a little bit better and then talk about it, with you. Crucible input for controller, too sensitive or too slow. Trying to find the right balance to be effective in Crucible has been challenging, yet the gameplay is fantastic. The thing is, when I play titles like Destiny, Paladins, or Warframe, whatever system they are using is fantastic, right? It feels like their DNA'd baby, if you will, right? Their very own, and not someone or something that was grafted into the experience, okay? In some cases, even if one is grafted in, right? Even if one is grafted in, they feel like they've always been a part of that thing, right? The controller support for Crucible does not feel this way. It feels like an afterthought in practice and theory. So this is some of the things I've been thinking about. So when I play games like Paladins, when I play games like Destiny, when I play games that like Warframe, any of those games, I never feel like I'm at a disadvantage, even though I'm a recent, not necessarily convert, but I just recently started playing PC stuff, July of 2019. And now most of the stuff that I play is PC stuff, right? And I love it. I love the fact that I can plug in my controller and go to town, right? The controller is an input that is available for individuals who decide to use it. Or if you decide to use keyboard and mouse, that's fine too. But when the game decides to incorporate inputs that people can use for mass appeal, it should feel native to the experience. And when I'm playing the Crucible, and I played it at least 3 hours on YouTube, and as I'm playing it, I'm like, this doesn't feel like it was made for this. It feels like it was something that was grafted in later that was considered for mass appeal, because there's a lot of individuals who play with controllers on PC, and why not put it in there? I know there's other games like, well, I'm not going to name any other games besides what I've already named, but there are other games that are thinking about putting controller support in their game, and hopefully it feels native to that experience. But if the game was intentionally keyboard and mouse only, it is very evident, right? We can see that this was not necessarily a native experience. If it is a native experience, then it was not done to the best that it could be done. Because when I look at transitioning from Paladins on console to Paladins on PC, I never feel like I'm at disadvantage when I'm playing Paladins on PC versus Paladins on console. Same thing for Destiny. When I'm playing Destiny on PC versus Destiny on console with a controller, I never feel like at a disadvantage. If the person is better that day, that's great. But most of the time, a good portion of the time, I know that if I, engage properly with a controller on PC, I'm going to be fine, right? But when I'm playing this here, I'm like, so I'm going to drive the point a little bit more, right? So as I'm playing this game on I'm going through the motions, playing the game and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, let's go to the options and try to adjust the settings. So I go put it higher, too fast. I lower it down, too slow. Happy medium doesn't exist, right? So I'm like, so what will it take to get that right, right? So from what I noticed with your website, the preseason goes from July to from May 20th to July 13th or something like that. I think that's the way that you guys have that set. And I'm like, what would it take to get that right? So I just want to check the dates on that and make sure I'm saying that correctly. Okay, so and this is what you're looking for, right? You're looking for constructive criticism about the game. So one of the things that you say here, so you say Crucible preseason runs 20th to the 13th. Why preseason, you ask? We're keenly aware that the launch of an online game to the public comes with all sorts of learning experiences. And you go on, and then part of what you say here is for things to break and get fixed. Okay, this has to be fixed. This here has to be priority. And I'm like, there's no way that you don't know that this is an issue. That and that's where I'm at with that. There's no way not to know that. Okay, so there's a diverse cast. There's diverse gameplay. The world is lush. It's beautiful. Those things are fantastic. But if it's not a seamless experience with the input that I'm using, and you want mass appeal for the game, and if this doesn't get fixed, the individuals playing it is going to go down in the streaming categories. It's inevitable if this does not get fixed. This should be a priority to some of the things that you're considering and the 8 weeks that you're going to have and get feedback. Now, so why do I feel so strongly about this? Aside from the fact that, hey, maybe you just suck at the game. No, that's not true, because I'm just as good at Destiny on PC than I'm at Destiny on console. So that's not it, right? I just feel that if I feel hopeless with the input that I'm using, right, I'm not the only one that feels this way. So I'm like, okay, so let's test this out a bit. Let's just test it out a little bit, right? So go to other streams, right? And as I'm looking at the other streams, they seem to be having the same conversation, right? So they start off and say something like, hey, you know what? This is pretty sensitive, right? With the controller input. And then it goes from this is pretty sensitive to this is pretty fast. Let me adjust it. Then, well, now I've adjusted it too slow, right? So then I'm not the only one experiencing that for individuals who are usually playing on a controller input for that, right? So it's not that I suck at the game, which could be true because I just started playing it, but I didn't just start playing shooters, and I didn't just start playing with a controller. And I'm very confident in my ability to play with a controller on PC and tear somebody's, I'm very confident in that, right? So that's not it. So definitely priority to fix that. I would definitely say that should be, why does it feel this way? Why does it feel like it's not native to the experience? I don't know, but it doesn't. It doesn't feel native to the experience. It doesn't feel like, okay, so, and last thing I'll say about it is this, right? Out of the last 5 years that I've played any shooter, right? I spent more time on a controller input screen with your game on the 20th than I've done in the last 5 years, right? And that's very telling. That's very telling. So that's the first point. Please fix that. Please fix that. All right. So the next point is, I think so. So we drove that home. So the next point is zone harvester indicators without opening the mini map. The map is great. The map is lush, is vibrant. That's great. Harvesters are cool. I like the system of that. Having the indicator without opening up the mini map. Okay. So for the individuals, so I'll just take care of the individuals who have photographic memories and stuff like that. So this point is not necessarily directly to you, but you're not necessarily in this particular framework of what I'm getting ready to say, right? Because once you see our harvester and you know it's B, you always know it's B because you have a photographic memory. But most individuals who are playing these games do not have photographic memory, right? So because of that, then it's like, why not put an indicator on somewhere near, maybe it's hovering over, the harvester somewhere. So everybody go to B, right? Everybody go to A. I think we get familiar with where A is or B is or whatever the letter is for that particular thing, because we've seen an indicator of some sort. I don't recall ever having to open up a mini map to figure out where I'm going next to capture a point. Maybe it's just me. You tell me in the comments. Maybe I'm just, reading too much into this. I'd never recall me opening up a mini map to decide where I'm gonna go. Right? It's usually once you figure out where B is, right? B is usually in the middle, or and A or C are usually at the corners. And once you figure out where they are, they're usually as an indicator that shows that you are heading in a direction of a particular point that you need to capture. There is that. But again, maybe I'm overthinking it. It doesn't feel natural. It feels that it takes away from the cadence of the experience, from the flow of that particular battle, to try to figure out where the points are. Again, if you have a photographic memory, you really don't care. I get it. Okay. So that would be number two. Number two would be to consider addressing a way of not opening up the mini map for individuals to experience where to go next on a particular encounter on the PvP gameplay of things, right? So that's number two. So number three is Heart of the Hive respawn time, if that could be lowered, okay? So again, so this deals with experience, cadence, flow, energy of the battle. How do you keep the intensity of the battle up, right? You got to lower the respawn time. So now if the respawn time is intentional for that, then maybe create a system or add some system in such a way where it still feels like a tug of war, that after you come back in from a 20-second respawn time, that you can go back into the experience and still feel like you matter to what you're adding to that team, right? To stop them from getting a heart or whatever the case might be, right? And maybe build a tug of war system around the heart, because it seems like the heart can be captured super fast, and that could be because of the skill set of the team, or maybe that they're just camping around the heart in some way, shape, or form. I don't know, right? So that's still something I need to investigate as I play it a little bit more. But create a tug of war where that feels like we can still make a difference in that situation as we're heading towards trying to capture the heart. And a 20-second, I think it's something around 20-second for that particular game mode. I don't think it's 20-second for every other game mode. But for that particular game mode, it's just like I'm just 20-second waiting, right? And then back in to try to figure out how fast I can get to the other side of that to capture the heart and stuff. So if there's a way to adjust that, make some adjustment to that, that'd be fantastic. And I'll be really, really appreciated for the experience. But again, could be just me, it could be just me with the controller stuff, which it's not, right? But maybe I'm overreacting with the respawn time and you cannot make changes to that. That's fine too. But cadence in the game, experience, heat, intensity, fervor, all those things, it just goes down the drain with such a long respawn time. All right. So that is point number 3, right? Please lower the respawn for that mode. Okay, so point number 4. So I'm probably gonna name this video 3 things, but let's just do some additional points. Point number 4 is a themed scores, right? And what do I mean by that? Well, it seems like in certain games that are shooters, that depending on what's happening during the gameplay, and I could be completely wrong that this is already in this game and I just haven't felt it, right? To experience that it is there. And what I mean by that is there's just certain experiences. I'll use a game like Division, right? Division has a system where these agents can randomly pop up in your game, right? And when they randomly pop up in your game, they have their own theme music, kind of like the wrestlers, right? And when the theme music comes on for these agents, you're either super excited or super annoyed, right? But it creates an emotion in you because you know that this is the theme music for these rogue agents. And when they're here, that means it's a high stakes, right? And you want to defeat them because if you defeat them, you get great loot, right? And if you don't defeat them, then it is what it is. But the fact that they have their own theme music and it punches and it gets your attention and it creates an emotion in you for that moment, right? I think that needs to be whether that's EQ'd properly or compressed properly, or maybe additional reverb for that punch to be felt for that particular theme thing, right? It's like 2 down, 1 more to go, or sudden death theme music, or something that creates an emotion that this is important. Okay, this moment matters for me to go to the next thing. Like, guys, rally up, because the next capture wins the game, right? Whatever that punch is, I don't feel it, right? I know that games like Paladins, when I'm playing and it's tied and 1 more capture wins, I feel I am engaged. I'm engaged to find out, what are we going to do to capture this point? These guys are not that. What are we going to do? They're not that good. We can do this. So whatever that theme punch is, if that needs to be, somehow just adjust the music in such a way where you feel that impact, that emotion of the music changing the course of the game. Music, and even in great sports arenas, music shifts, right? The experience. What does that mean for Crucible, right? That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. What does that look like? And maybe it's there. Again, maybe it's there, and I'm just reading too much into it. Maybe I have high expectations for a free-to-play game. There are other free-to-play games that delivered, right? So because of that, there's a standard that's already been set. And as you're making changes in 8 weeks, I think that incorporating some of these changes will yield some different, not necessarily morale, but some different energy in the community as it relates to or surrounding your game, right? So that's that. So, and I think that the next one we have is a roadmap, right? So roadmap, I'm sure that's going to be built over time as you realize, and maybe just maybe a short show update. I guess I can add that in there. So maybe I should add that in there. So maybe part of the roadmap. Let me look at, hold on. Let me just look at something real quick. So part of the roadmap, maybe like a short broadcast of some sort, right? Because everybody's doing it, right? We can add a short broadcast, right? Maybe it's a short, because I can't spell, broadcast, okay, of some sort, whether that's a Twitch broadcast of something like that, where you're sharing the updates, maybe like a state of the game, right? Which they do for the division, or state of play is occasional, but not as frequent, right? Something that allows us to comment on, maybe that's the YouTube comments and stuff like that, where people will actually say, hey, you know what? Change this. And maybe that's another way to get additional suggestions and feedback, right? With a short show. I think Warframe does a short show where they give you the latest news about, Warframe, what's going on, right? I'm not sure if Paladin does that. I know they do a lot of stuff on the esports side. Destiny does the TWAB, which is a Thursday updates. And if they're going to announce something, they'll probably do a stream on Wednesday or something like that, right? Midday, maybe like 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so maybe a little bit earlier. Oh no, actually it'll be 1 Eastern Standard Time, so it'll be a little bit earlier for the individuals who are on the West Coast and stuff like that. So something like that, right? Where people can come in and engage with what that would mean for them within that community for the game. What does that look like? What are the changes? What are the feedback? Or just even say, hey, we heard you, right? We heard that you're not really feeling the controller support situation that we have built into the game. We've heard the feedback, and we're going to take into account how we move forward with the game. Something like that. Or even create a meme around that, right? If it gets so magnified that is a big problem, right? Or to use a different word, that's a big challenge in the game that the team has to overcome, right? Then maybe create like some memes or some GIFs around it of some sort, and then start sharing that to create a buzz of the fact that, yeah, we heard you. We know how you feel about it. We're going to make the changes. And these are some of the things that we're incorporating in the 8 weeks that from May 20th to July 13th. These are some of the things that we're considering. So I think that's it. So to recap, so let's just do a recap. First and foremost, I think the highest priority, if it would be considered the highest priority, is the controller support and how that system fits into the overall game of Crucible, how it should feel native to the experience because it doesn't, and it should, right? That harvester indicators or any indicators that are relevant, like even Destiny 2 added more indicators or more help tips on their screen, loading screens, if there's, you know, things like that, to make sure that as you're going through the menus, you fully understand how the game works. If you're playing for the game for the first time, you should be just as informed as someone who's been playing the game for a very long time, 3 years, 4 years, or whatever it is, you know, things like that, right? So indicators that are consistent with adding not just cadence, but informational for the overall game experience, right? And Destiny has done that with Destiny 2. And they keep doing more stuff to make sure that you're informed of the game. So whether that's in-game battle or overall indicators, I think that should be considered. Third thing, that's number 3, right? Third thing is respawn times. What does that look like? Does it still feel like a tug of war? Are you engaged in the experience still, or are you disengaged because of the respawn times, right? Things like that. Thematic punch, right? As it relates to what that feels like, right? Last man standing, last point to win. You know, what does that, is it amplified enough that you feel that emotion for that particular moment, right? What does that look like? And then roadmap or short broadcast is the last thing. And I think that's it. And I think that pretty much covers what I wanted to cover in this video. Things I would like to see change for this game. This game is really, really dope. And I think, and I'll emphasize and I'll just leave you with this. The game is really, really dope. And I think that what you've done is amazing for the community to add another game of this caliber, to have such pronounced characters that are so unique. And then the other thing too, let me just mention this, right? That even the characters, they're so unique in their abilities that it's not like you need to have this character to affect the game in such a way. Every character could change the nature of the game, right? It's not a particular, this one is a healer, this one is this one is that. Every character is made in such a way where they all can be the game changer. And I think that's beautiful. So that diverse in abilities and characteristics of the characters, their unique nature and what they present to the game, I think that's fantastic. The world and, you know, all the essence stuff and all that stuff, I think that's cool. The PvE experience, I think that's great. All those things are great. But these changes, I think, will change. You probably see numbers increase, right? If word gets around, which, you know, PR word will get around, that you're addressing these changes. And I think that that's where we are. So that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's a little longer than expected, but definitely wanted to say a lot about this particular experience for this game. Crucible is out right now. This is a Steam title right now, and maybe crossplay, maybe, you know, some other things like that as you decide to put the game on other platforms, if that's in the plans, right? And hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please support it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I would love to do more videos like this, just thinking out loud of what I've experienced on a particular title, and we'll go from there. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and until then, have a good one.